legend of La Llorona. In Latin American folklore, a chilling tale has been whispered from generation to generation, painting the nights with fear and evoking an eerie presence near the bodies of water. This tale is of La Llorona, the weeping woman, whose haunting story is as tragic as it is terrifying. Ensconced in a blend of indigenous and colonial histories, the legend of La Llorona speaks of a woman doomed to wander the earth forever, searching for her lost children. To unfold the story of La Llorona is to examine this rich and cultured tale of emotion, followed by supernatural encounters. The origin of the legend. Beneath the shadow of the newly conquered Aztec Empire, where the ancient spirits whispered of betrayal and sorrow, the legend of Maria, later known as La Llorona, began to unfurl like a dark bloom in the heart of Mexico. This tale, steeped in the blood of conquest and the tears of the innocent, weaves a story of love turned to unspeakable tragedy, a narrative so haunting that it transcends the boundaries of time, echoing through the ages as a grim reminder of the darkness within the human heart. Maria, with beauty so ethereal it seemed to draw the very light of the stars into her presence, lived a life of humble beginnings in a secluded village, her allure unmatched, her spirit untamed. It was within this rustic idyll that a Spanish nobleman, his soul captivated by tales of a beauty that rivaled the divine, first laid eyes upon Maria. Enthralled, he pursued her, his intentions cloaked in the guise of love, a love that promised to bridge worlds. Their union, though fraught with the tension of merging disparate realms, bore fruit in the form of two sons, symbols of their seemingly unbreakable bond. Yet, as the years waned, so too did the nobleman's affections. Seduced back into the opulent fold of colonial aristocracy and the arms of others, he abandoned Maria and their offspring, leaving behind a chasm of despair and betrayal. Tormented by visions of her lover's infidelity and consumed by a jealousy that gnawed at her very being, Maria's heart transformed. Once a reservoir of love and warmth, it became a crucible of vengeance and madness. In a twisted belief that her children were the last tether holding the nobleman to her, she led them to the river's edge under the cloak of night. There, amidst the mournful cries of the wind and the river's somber lullaby, she committed an act so vile that it would forever curse her name. With hands driven by a maddened heart, she drowned her sons. Their innocent lives ended in the cold, uncaring embrace of the water. The realization of her deed struck Maria like a thunderbolt from a wrathful god. Overcome with horror and remorse, she wailed into the night, her cries a macabre symphony of grief and guilt. Unable to bear the weight of her actions, she cast herself into the same watery grave she had condemned her children to, her spirit shackled to the realm of the living by the enormity of her sin. Thus was born the specter of La Llorona, the weeping woman, a figure robed in the tattered vestiges of her mortal sorrow, forever condemned to wander the earth. Let me attempt to outline the significant phases of the La Llorona legend: pre-16th century, indigenous roots, pre-colonial era. Some theories suggest that the legend of La Llorona has roots in indigenous stories and beliefs prior to the Spanish conquest. These stories might have been inspired by Aztec goddesses like Cihuacoatl, a snake woman who foretold doom and was said to weep for her lost children. 16th century, Spanish conquest and syncretism. 1521, the fall of the Aztec Empire to Spanish conquerors. The melding of indigenous and Spanish cultures begins, including the syncretization of religious beliefs and folklore. 17th to 18th century, colonial era and the evolution of folklore. Colonial period. The story of La Llorona begins to spread orally, morphing with local tales and superstitions. It served as a cautionary tale among communities to keep children away from dangerous waters and as a moral lesson. 19th century. Literary incarnations. 1883. One of the earliest literary references to La Llorona appears in a Mexican sonnet, where she is depicted as a harbinger of misfortune. 20th century, popularization and media. Early to mid-1990s. The legend of La Llorona becomes widely known across Mexico and the southwestern United States. It is featured in corridos, ballads, movies, and books, further embedding it into popular culture. 1960s to 1980s. La Llorona begins appearing in television and film in various countries, becoming a pan-Latin American legend. Her story is used in horror genres and as a cultural reference point. 21st century, global recognition and adaptations. 2000s to 2010s. The internet and social media contribute to the global spread of the La Llorona legend. People from different parts of the world share their versions of the story and alleged encounters. 2019, The Curse of La Llorona, a horror film, is released, introducing the legend to a broader, international audience. Though it received mixed to negative reviews, it helped cement La Llorona's place in global pop culture. Modern day, continued sightings and cultural significance. 2020s. Reports of La Llorona sightings continue in various parts of Latin America, often shared through social media. The legend remains a popular subject for Halloween and Day of the Dead festivities, as well as in horror-themed entertainment. Present, La Llorona is recognized not just as a ghost story, but as a cultural symbol reflecting themes of loss, motherhood, and social injustice. Scholars and cultural commentators explore her origins and significance in Latin American history and folklore. The Curse of La Llorona. The legend states that upon reaching the gates of the afterlife, Maria was questioned about the whereabouts of her children. Unable to provide an answer, she was condemned to roam the mortal world as La Llorona, the weeping woman, in eternal search for her sons. It is said that her ghostly figure, dressed in a white gown, can be seen wandering along canals and rivers, weeping and wailing for her lost children. Ay, mis hijos. Encounters and beliefs. La Llorona is not merely a ghost. She is a specter of warning and a symbol deeply ingrained in cultural consciousness. Parents often recount the tale of La Llorona to their children as a cautionary warning to avoid wandering out at night or near bodies of water. Many claim to have seen or heard her pitiful cries, a mournful, bone-chilling wail that is unmistakable. The legend has numerous variations across different regions, reflecting local histories and social issues. Some interpretations present La Llorona as a protective figure, warning children of danger, while others depict her as malevolent, capable of harming or abducting wandering children. The Midnight Encounter. One of the most chilling tales recounts a late-night encounter with La Llorona by the banks of a river in Mexico. A group of friends, daring each other to brave the night, ventured close to the water. As the moon cast its pale light, they heard the unmistakable sound of weeping. The mournful cries grew louder, echoing across the water. Paralyzed with fear, they saw a figure in white drifting towards them, her face obscured by a veil of sorrow. The figure vanished as quickly as she appeared, leaving behind an icy silence and a story that would be whispered for generations. The warning cry. In another famous tale, a lone traveler was making his way home along a deserted path that ran parallel to a canal. The night was enveloped in a thick fog, reducing visibility to just a few feet ahead. Suddenly, the eerie silence was broken by a heart-wrenching sob that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The traveler, aware of the legend, quickened his pace, praying under his breath. Just as he thought he had escaped, he heard the whisper of a woman's voice. Ay, mis hijos, so close it sent shivers down his spine. He ran all the way home, never looking back, convinced that La Llorona had crossed his path, but spared him a grim fate. The disappearance. Perhaps the most unsettling accounts are those where children go missing near water bodies, only to return with stories of a weeping woman who beckoned them. In one such instance, a young boy wandered away from his home near a riverbank. When search parties finally found him, he spoke of a sad woman in white who had called to him, crying for her children. She had almost lured him into the water, he said, but he ran away when he saw her face, twisted in eternal grief. These stories serve as cautionary tales, reminding children to stay away from dangerous waters and heed the warnings of their elders. The legend of La Llorona is a poignant reminder of the human capacity for love and the depths of despair it can lead to. It's a story that has endured for centuries through its power to fascinate, terrify, and teach. If you enjoyed this video, then like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.